case, let's get back to the situation on hand. So they did these like dueling protests, if you can even call it that. I mean, this was the amount of people that this dipshit was able to bring together. But on the other side, we have the Department of Justice also, once again, doing the damn thing under Trump's regime. In spite of the lackluster reaction from Minnesota's governor, Tim Walz, and Minneapolis's mayor, Jacob Frey, the government is still coming after them for obstruction charges. Let's fucking go, baby.
On our Saturday
I gotta
session.
pee.
All that and so much more is just ahead. But we begin with this morning's top story, an escalation in the immigration crackdown in Minneapolis. CBS News was the first to report the Justice Department has launched an investigation of Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. The investigation centers on an alleged conspiracy by the two Democratic leaders to feed federal immigration agents to impede their work. It comes as protests have intensified after the fatal shooting last week of Renee Good by an ICE agent. Nearly 3,000 federal immigration agents have been dispatched to Minneapolis to arrest people who are in the United States illegally. Ian Lee is in Minneapolis. Ian, good morning.
Good morning, Adriana. CBS News has learned this investigation focuses on whether Walz or Frey have impeded federal immigration action through public statements they've made.
Armed, masked, undertrained ICE agents are going door to door, ordering people to point out where their neighbors of color live.
In a statewide address Wednesday night, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz criticized the federal immigration crackdown in Minneapolis.
And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record.
On Friday, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey called the operation an invasion.
What we're seeing on our streets is unnecessary abuses of force.
Now both Democrats are under federal investigation. Multiple sources familiar with the matter tell CBS News the probe stems from statements Walz and Frey have made about the immigration action. In response, both men took to social media, with Walz posting, "Weaponizing the justice system against your opponent is an authoritarian tactic," and Frey writing, "I will not be."
God, they're such pussies, bro. I swear to God. Like, I mean, I don't even know what you do in this situation, but it's just like, it just like, it makes me so mad. I wish we had some fucking real ass fighters out here, dude. Like Tim Walz's little, Christmas postcard that he sent to Donald Trump last week was so cowardly. Like, it was so like, come on, man to man, let's stop this. Let's hug and kiss it out. Like, ugh. Like, you're a governor, man. You're basically the president of your state. Like, what are we doing? Do something. I don't know. Also, yeah, I love when people go, don't say these guys are Nazis. When bovine Greg Bovino at 5'4" is always LARPing as a Nazi. Like, he loves looking like a Nazi commander, okay? It's just, oh, yeah. Everything sucks. Everything sucks so bad.
Intimidated. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche appeared to hint at the investigation.
My mom hasn't understood for years why I said the Dems aren't doing shit, but Tim Walz's response made her finally understand what I've been saying. Yeah. Yo, not even trying to put you on the spot, but deadass, what would you do? I would fuck shit up. I would 100% try to deploy the National Guard, okay? I would deploy the National Guard to protect the citizens of Minnesota and specifically Minneapolis. And I would direct law enforcement at the state level, especially, or even law enforcement at the local level, to make ICE agents' lives a living hell because they're consistently violating the laws, right? They're violating traffic laws. They're harassing fucking local businesses and shit like that. I would tell every Minnesotan, okay, that you can make a call to a police officer if an ICE agent is trying to get into your place of business and harassing you and frustrating you, and we will ensure that members of law enforcement will be there in less than 5 minutes to trespass them, okay? if you tell your population that you have their back and that you will use the local law enforcement to actually trespass people, cops will have to follow through on that. It doesn't matter what the FOP says, right? Because the Fraternal Order of Police in Minneapolis has said, or in the state of Minnesota has said that they back ICE law enforcement operations 100%. But that's not the fucking, that's not the actual mandate, okay? If the governor and the mayor is telling the public, we have your side, our cops will actually side with you. They will actually we will use the power that we have as local and state office to make ICE activities as difficult as possible in this state, then they will have too hard of a time. Make them fucking waste money. Restrict their freedom of movement. Do everything you possibly can through the legal avenues and also through the power that you command over your own fucking state. Basically force cops to disobey openly if cross that bridge. No, I'm not even talking about that. You have legal means of making it a lot more difficult for ICE to operate in your state. Okay? If you noticed, I said if ICE agents are coming to your business, you can, as a business owner, say, I'm sorry, I don't want to serve you. Right? And when ICE agents say, fuck off, I'm an ICE agent, I will be served here, you can call the cops. The cops can trespass you. That is legal. That's totally valid. It's totally legal, right? This is a way to coordinate with the population to make things as difficult as possible for these federal agents to operate in your fucking neighborhoods. But they're not doing it. They're not doing it. They lack the imagination and the political will, even though the population is demanding it. Okay? You're overestimating the power politicians have over the police. You're wrong. You're wrong. Because let's say 30% of cops are not going to do that. They're going to say, nah, these guys are just basically cops as well. I don't want to do that. 70% of cops are still going to follow the orders. Many of them have neighbors. Many of them have family members that are working at these fucking restaurants. Many of them have already heard the discontent from their friends and family members as well. You're thinking that all cops are basically fucking, operating in the same like Gestapo mindset, and plenty are, right? Plenty are doing that. Fry said it's not possible and it's illegal. I don't believe that. Made. Mayor of Minneapolis Jacob Frey questions Somalia candidate Omar Fateh if he would stand by arresting federal officers who are trying to enforce immigration laws. Omar Fateh stands by his plan to arrest federal officers and will even arrest ICE for wearing a mask. Jacob Frey said, no, that's illegal and it's not possible. It's bullshit. Omar Fateh was right. You can do that.
To direct Minneapolis police to arrest federal agents. That would be dangerous. That would be irresponsible.
Why? This was before all this shit happened, by the way, just so you understand. This was before all this shit happened. This is all the way in October 27th, 2025.
Responsible. And my simple question is, how would our police officers do that? How would our police officers arrest federal agents when, simply put, they have much bigger guns and it would be illegal?
And that's part of it.
But we should actually dig in on the answer to this question, because this gets to the crux of the issues that we actually deal with. You committed to arresting federal agents. My simple question is how?
Yeah, well, if there's any federal agent that has a mask on, that should not be allowed in our city.
I agree with that, but how? How do you arrest them?
Well, we can work with our state partners, we can work with our attorney general, we can work with it cross-jurisdictionally, we can work as a city.
But specifically, how would you...
What do you mean? Enforce a mask mandate for public servants. If you're a public servant at the federal level or at the local level, you are not allowed to wear a mask anymore while you are engaging in operations. That is a perfectly valid local ordinance that you could push through and then demand the cops follow through on. Maybe not all of them are going to follow through on it, but you absolutely could push a local ordinance such as that one or a statewide ordinance such as that one and then force the ICE agents to follow through on that mandate. What are we doing? What are we fucking doing? I hate the question how, okay? I hate the question how. The only reason why people like Frey say, how would we do this, is because they don't want to do it, okay? They don't want to fucking do it. At Governor Walz's direction, an hour ago, this is the Minnesota Department of Public Safety says, at Governor Walz's direction, Minnesota National Guard have been mobilized and are staging to support local law enforcement and emergency management agencies. They are not deployed to city streets at this time, but are ready to help support public safety, including protection of life, preserving of property, and supporting the rights of all those who assemble peacefully. So they're not even doing this like unconditionally, we will help the Minnesotans here against ICE incursions, which is what Walz should say. And before people say, well, don't you think that would invoke a constitutional crisis? Yes, it would. That's the point. Okay? The point is it should push the federal government so that they can fucking stand down. Because at that point, if the Democrats actually start doing things like this and openly state that they're doing things like this, then you have the federal government, sitting around and saying, hey, what do we do here? Do we just continue pushing? Do we actually lean into the constitutional crisis? Do we actually create an even bigger problem? Will we be able to deal with this much larger problem? Because there's a million different things that you are worried about if you are, running the White House. I know Trump has this like careless attitude in the way that he manages the country, manages the global economy, all this shit. But like ultimately, these are things that he has to fucking worry about. When he says, I'm going to invoke the Insurrection Act, he's just saying that as a posture, right? As this like militant posture. But like, it's not so easy to just like invoke the Insurrection Act and then follow through on it. It might ultimately not be possible for the National Guard to be fully involved because Trump could federalize it and take the command away from the state, but the local PDs could absolutely order their officers to form human walls between ICE and protesters. Yes, they should be doing both. You're not seeing the whole picture. What are you going to do when ICE has 3 times as many agents as the cops? There's no support from state police. They sided with ICE. I think Walz did not deploy the National Guard because he knows they're siding with ICE. If the cops or guard refuse to get to deputize locals, that too. Force a judge to rule against arresting ICE goons when they've broken the law, right? No, they already have. They already have the court side working on this. But my point is, you got to gum up the works, okay? Even if it's going to be fruitless at the end of the day, you have to try your very best to gum up the works to at least instill confidence in your governance that you have your citizens' interests in mind, okay? That's your top priority. If you're the fucking governor, your constituents are the most important thing. The people of Minnesota are your highest priority. The protection of the people of Minnesota are the highest priority, even if it's the fucking federal government trying to duke it out with them. Even if it's the federal government trying to wage war on them, you have to defend those people, okay? And if you don't do anything and if you stand idly by and allow the federal government to roll over and do whatever the fuck they want, okay, and you just expect the people to defend themselves alone, that kind of decentralized movement eventually is going to lead to more chaos. When people realize that there's no one out there that will defend them, they will take matters into their own hands. And I've said this over and over again. I worry about that reality. And that reality is here already because our politicians have left us behind. They are too cowardly to do anything.
Earlier this week with a post saying, Walz and Frey, I'm focused on stopping you from your terrorism by whatever means necessary. This is not a threat, it's a promise.
Open presents, thank you for the 100 gifted subs.
Protests have increasingly turned violent since the killing of Renee Good by an ICE agent.
When the fuck have the people been the priority in the States or Western countries in general? Guys, I know, okay? It's not. The National Guard has never gassed U.S. citizens, you delusional clown. The National Guard has literally killed U.S. citizens. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like shot them and killed them.
Earlier this month, Law enforcement breaking up crowds with tear gas and pepper balls, putting some Minnesota residents on edge.
People refusing to come out the house.
The chairman of Minnesota's Republican Party, Alex Plekish, is criticizing Walz and Fry's handling of the situation.
In the past, where the governor or the mayor have said that they support law enforcement in the performance of their duties, but they don't seem to be enforcing law enforcement when the feds come in and do it. I think it's ironic and hypocritical.
But he's also concerned about reports American citizens have been rounded up by ICE.
I feel for the people that feel fearful that are legitimate citizens. That's not right. If they have fears like that and they're legitimate, they're here legitimately, they shouldn't be made to fear. But if they're feeling that, then we should do something about that.
Yeah? Like what, bitch? The fuck do you mean?
Last night, a federal judge issued...
Oh, well, their fears are legitimate, don't you know? The fears are legitimate, don't you know? And if they have the fears, then they should be feeling the fears, but they shouldn't be feeling the fears, don't you know? Fuck off, dude. On the one hand, he's like, Tim Walz and Frey are honestly doing nothing, but even when they're doing nothing, just being Democrats, that's still a bridge too far for this fucking asshole. But then also it's like, we see you, we hear you. But there's not really much we can do. You just have to comply or die. Okay?
Ruling blocking immigration agents deployed in Minnesota from arresting or using tear gas, pepper spray, or other non-lethal munitions against peaceful protesters.
Yeah, so the court injunction came in, right, to put a pause on ICE activities. Not sure how much they're going to follow through on that, but now that that exists, you have another mechanism of law enforcement. You put fucking cops and the National Guard everywhere, okay? You make them form a fucking meat shield around the protesters. If, and only if, ICE agents still try to do some fuck shit, still try to do like illegal arrests, illegal apprehensions, illegal detainments on regular ass Minnesotan civilians and citizens for what they consider to be a crime, then you arrest them. It's that simple. It's that fucking simple. That's it. Because the courts are already on the side of the fucking protesters. You can't just go in. You cannot just go in and start detaining people willy-nilly. They already didn't have this power, by the way. ICE does not have the legal authority to randomly detain American citizens. They are a immigration law enforcement apparatus. Okay? It's that simple.
Shame! 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 Shame!
Brutal cold, driving winds.
You're also, this is funny. Yeah. Why are liberals freaking out about this? Don't they love process? This is literally their thing. Exactly. This is why it's very fraudulent when a lot of liberals on the internet will say, Hasan, your ideas are so radical. You're fucking crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. I spent a good deal of time talking about process, about how liberals could utilize process to gum up the works, could utilize lawfare to make things more difficult for these people, okay? The problem that I have with liberals by and large, like Democratic Party operatives by and large, is that they don't even want to do that because they don't have the will. That's what's so fucking frustrating about it. Because most people just, I guess, encounter me on the internet in 30-second clipped increments, and that's it. They just make up their minds off of that, and they think I'm just like a naysayer that's constantly complaining about the Democrats over and over again. Yeah, bitch, I'm complaining about the Democrats because they're not doing anything when they should be doing things. It's that fucking simple. Here, I'll give you an example of this. This is something that took place last night because I had the time and, you know, I was willing to entertain it, right? This person, Soy Pill, says, initially, or this basket case guy says, Hasan also refused to endorse the candidate that would have prevented all of this, so I'm not sure why he thinks he has much of a moral high ground here. I said, Liv's trying to do this in 2026 can't be serious. I warned the Dems in person at the DNC about the dangers of letting anti-immigrant rhetoric go unchecked. They got cold feet when they saw a couple mass deportation polls and totally conceded to the right. Now here we are. This guy comes in and says, why are people bringing up my election takes 1 year after the election, which led to the current administration? Can you imagine the audacity if they bring it up next year too, or God forbid, up to 4 years after that election? To which I responded with, very funny not to acknowledge the problems with the campaign, same as the harm reduction narrative failure as an election strategy. Luckily, most voters aren't as stupid as you. One day we'll defeat the GOP and you'll act like you were there all along, just like y'all did with Zoran. Okay? Zoran is one of the best examples of this because, like, I work with the Democrats, right? I don't shy away from working with the Democrats, but these people act as though I don't ever work with the Democrats at all. They make it seem as though my arguments are actually silly, right? They make it seem as though I'm not coming at this from a morally consistent position because I see the danger ahead and consistently warn against said danger becoming reality. And then when that reality happens, they go, whoa, how did we get here? Well, it must have been because harm reduction narratives should have worked, but it didn't work. And they should have worked because you're stupid. The voters are stupid. That's the only argument that they have. So then he responds with, I have fully acknowledged the problems of the Democrats in the past and blame them for not picking the right messaging. But this has nothing to do with you failing to mobilize your vast audience to help stop Trump. It's obviously not primarily your fault, but I think you should have done more, and you should next time if some centrist wins the primary. Also, next time, please don't draw false equivalencies between fascist Democrats who aren't good enough. I said, you fundamentally misunderstand everything I've done for the last decade of my career and are capable of only thinking in terms of 30-second clips if this is your summation of my work. My criticism of Dems on policy and politics is about their concessions to fascist messaging. Maybe I could be misled from people who hate you. I'm not implying you could have won Dems the election, but you could show me something akin to you. One, telling your audience to vote for Kamala Harris to stop Trump. And two, phone banking or door knocking in swing states. I think your audience is the bare minimum people should do to help win. I'll be doing this in the midterms this year and would gladly support an initiative you start with my audience and money. He still doesn't get it. Okay? It's always just do more, forehead, because, and I experienced this, it's never enough. It's never enough for these guys, okay? It's just shut the fuck up and vote for the Democrats. It's never, don't ever offer any valid and viable criticism as to why the Democrats are probably going to lose the election once again, because if they do, then it's your fucking fault. It's never the campaign's fault. It's never the campaign's fault, okay? This is what's so frustrating about this argument. This guy is basically doing holy Reddit brain rot. Yeah, he's doing the vote blue no matter who, and it's not even an election right now, okay? It's blue MAGA arguments over and over again. Why are you defending the mediocrity of the Democrats that have constantly fucking lost elections to the Republicans over and over again? I don't understand it. I don't understand why you reflexively defend the Democrats no matter what. It is very frustrating because that reflexive defense of the party is precisely the reason why the party can put forward bad candidacies and bad campaigns in general over and over and over again and then lose to the fucking fascists. And then when they lose to the fascists, they turn around and go, you know what? The people didn't actually vote hard enough. It was always the people that was at fault. Bitch, your job, you got billions of dollars. Your job is to make sure that the people think you're a better choice. You failed on that. You failed on that for a litany of different issues. Mamdani is actually smart, so there's 0% chance that Hasan doesn't turn on him. That's awesome. I mean, Hutch is professionally wrong all the time, even though he does it for free. So it's even more pathetic. But the reason why I'm bringing this up over and over again is because these guys literally have to create fan fiction with the Democrats that I do work with, right? People that I have actively tried to get elected. It's never enough. And I'll give you the best example of why this is never enough. 2016, I was a major Bernie booster, okay? Big time Bernie bro, right? And then when Hillary Clinton won, I sucked it the fuck up and I said, you got to go out and you got to vote for Hillary Clinton because Donald Trump presents a tremendous fucking problem for the American future, right? And I was right. These guys still yelled at the Bernie bros, though, including myself, because they moved the fucking goalposts and they said Bernie presented too strong of an opposition in the primaries that ruined Hillary Clinton's brand. Then they said, you didn't fight hard enough for Hillary Clinton, even though Bernie Sanders did more for Hillary Clinton than Hillary Clinton did for herself. It blows my mind. It blows my fucking mind. Was Hutch even pro-Zoran? No, none of these motherfuckers were pro-Zoran until Zoran actually reached a level of popularity that made it so that it was obvious that he was going to fucking win. These people also don't return the favor. See how they reacted by propping up Cuomo against Mamdani? Exactly. Exactly. Here I am, okay, on August 7th, 2024, talking about the flaws in the Democratic Party's messaging around the issue of immigration, okay?
Explain this part to me, though, because Kamala touted that right-wing immigration bill in Atlanta last week, too. Like, why is it that that seems to be the point that both parties can agree on? I mean, the stuff with the deportation, it's a bit crazy.
A bit crazy. I mean, it's very.
Best thing Hasan can do to help Mamdani execute on his agenda is stay the fuck away from him, lol. It appears it didn't really affect him negatively in any way, but go off, King. Yeah. No, thanks, Hutch. No, you were there all along, buddy. You're right. Hutch was bitching about Mamdani's favorability numbers in August. No cheating. Don't look it up. If you guys had to guess what Mamdani's public approval ratings are nationally in the state of New York, not New York City specifically, where do you think he lands? Professionally wrong. Professionally wrong. Okay? Don't listen to these dipshits. I mean, I don't even need to say this because no one actually listens to these dipshits, right? Yeah, it all stems back to this fucking clip. Your words, not mine. When I'm talking about Kamala Harris's policies on Israel, which is identical to which is identical on the issue of Israel, is identical to the Trump administration. It was a part of the reason why she lost. I honestly didn't know that Zoran was part of Uncommitted. That slightly complicates things. Personally, would still adhere to the principle, but I get why folks are salty about it on the spot. You just shaded Mamdani for condemning Hamas, you dumb bitch, lol. He also boosted Mamdani when he was polling single digits while you were crying months later that he was part of the Uncommitted movement. Hutch, I can have reasonable disagreements with people that I communicate with and correspond with on a daily fucking basis, privately, and even sometimes publicly, okay? It's a normal and healthy fucking attitude to have towards your representatives and towards the politicians that are supposed to represent your interests. I know this is a foreign concept for you because you only have one speed, which is just eating the dick of the Democratic Party over and over again, even when they actually fucking steer this goddamn country into a devastating direction by consistently losing to the Republicans over and over again, no matter how fucking bad they are. But it's fine. It's fine to have some disagreements with your politicians, even if you know them personally. Why does Hutch hate you so much? Have you talked to him? He eats Destiny's dick on a daily basis, and Destiny's only driving motivator is how much he despises me. So even if he actually has an interest in like shitting on the Republicans, which he does, Destiny to his credit still fucking despises Donald Trump and maybe even most of the Republican Party as well, and Elon Musk too. He still hates me more than all of those other people combined. So that's why they don't have any sort of like decipherable real political opinions, or it comes across like they have no real consistent position on anything other than fuck Hasan. Hasan is the biggest issue. Destiny has quite literally said that I'm worse than Adolf Hitler for American politics, that he would rather vote for Adolf Hitler over voting for me. If I was running for office, there was like a couple months prior when the Zoran stuff was heating up, there was a real debate in that side of the fucking liberal content creator sphere where they were sincerely talking about how I would be worse for America than Adolf fucking Hitler. These people have said that I'm worse than Candace Owens. They've said that I'm worse than Nick Fuentes. That's it. You only arrive at that unserious position if you are utterly devoid of serious analysis, and the only thing that guides you never got the LSF boost because he's too boring for Reddit or Sag. Yeah, you only arrive at that position sincerely if you're just a fucking insane person who is motivated purely by spite. Spite and nothing else. Ben Netanyahu 2025. You are the most hateful live streamer on the platform. The only viewers you get are bigots. Benjamin Netanyahu 2025. Out of all the usernames you could have chosen, you basically went with modern Adolf Hitler. Respect. Yes, I love being considered hateful to people like you. Okay? Straight up. I welcome your hatred. I welcome your hatred. Says you, I welcome your hatred. Give me all of your enmity. Give me all of your hatred. Okay? You are my enemy. If you're a fascist, you're my enemy. You can fucking run around and talk about how much you despise me every day. I welcome it. Okay? I'm being bigoted to Benjamin Netanyahu. Hutch on kids in Gaza.
Dead kids. That's not like a great thing to think about or to see images of. Not a good thing to happen. But what this author said in this paragraph here is just it's completely uncontroversial.
It is possible to kill children legally. That's what Hutch said. Hutch is working on his Reddit mod hair. No, he at least finally gave up on it and now went full bald, I think. These are my haters, man. These are the guys who are still trying to latch on and pull down the stupid ass liberals in the establishment side of the Democratic Party. They speak to an audience of no one, and I don't even know why they still do this dumb shit. Okay? If you're smart enough, you should not entertain these guys at all. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Logs, please. Genuine question. Here we go. HasanAbi Beauty. But wouldn't that compel the federal government to issue an Insurrection Act and cause a civil war between the U.S. Army and National Guard of that state? Logs, genuine question. Yes, it would, which is why you have to posture against the federal government. Because if you don't do that, they're going to roll over anyway. Okay? If you don't do that, they're going to roll over and do whatever the fuck they want regardless. But at least this time you're calling their bluff. Okay? Because not doing anything has only given this government more confidence to continue doing exactly what they want to do. You have to play every card at your disposal. You have to exhaust every other limited option that you have.
For every do-nothing Democrat out there, Jacob Frey, Tim Walz, Sorta AOC, anybody who's silent, voting for funding right now, we will die in the streets before we give you votes for midterms if you keep saying nothing besides mean tweets. It's time for action. Push people to strike. Pass the moratorium. People are struggling. They're not leaving their homes and they can't get evicted because ICE will scoop them up. Start standing for something. You stood down and now you have charges on your head and you haven't declared an emergency. They're coming for you.
It is core to the American psyche that they will care more about what will happen in resistance and the horrors already happening due to lack of action. I know. It's fucking frustrating. Sorry, I was tweeting. Stop tweeting. You're on stream. I know I was. I cracked the joke. I had to do one of them. I know it's Jokes are reactionary. Jokes are counter-revolutionary. Jokes are bourgeois decadence. And I did one of them, okay? I apologize to absolutely no one. I wanted to do it. They dragged the Nazi Jake Lang out of the building in Minneapolis. I said, this is anti-Semitism, but y'all are not ready for that conversation, sweaty. End joke.